I move for no man, no man, no man, no man, no man. We're calling a draw. Just a flesh wound, 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 just a flesh wound.
Unusual. I'm just tired.
You was fucking, weren't you?
Unfortunately not. I took a little break. Banged like the last, I don't know, however many days before that. So
is
Too
Jeff your roommate, like officially?
Yeah.
So what's the arrangement? He has to cook and clean?
Nah, he's
So you don't whoop his ass?
Nah, he's good. He makes me clean more than anything else. I mean, he keeps the house pretty clean, but
he runs a tight ship.
Yeah, he makes sure that I'm not just like leaving shit places. So
Jeff is a good guy.
Yeah, man.
I met him in Los Angeles. I don't know if you knew that. We went to go visit Muscle Farm when he was working there.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave us a tour of the facilities. And he went out to lunch with us.
Sick.
Yeah. His car was dirty as fuck too. It's probably the dirtiest car I've ever seen.
Yeah, my previous cars were about the same. The one I'm driving now is probably pretty close. It's just bigger, so you probably wouldn't notice it as much.
Yep. It's a pretty Range Rover on the outside and a shit box inside.
Frankie's making fun of your car. Says that it was the dirtiest car he ever saw.
He's a cool dude though. Tell him that.
He also says he loves you and you were cool though.
I think I never met him.
He says he never met you. He must not remember you, Frankie.
Did he really say that?
Yeah, he says I'd never met him.
That's the type of long-lasting impression that I left on him.
That's the kind of friend you have there, yeah. He says that you guys met in L.A.
Muscle Farm?
And you gave him a tour of Muscle Farm. Jeff's slowly, it's all coming back to him.
Bro, I think it's a marijuana. Dude, that would have... He actually hurt my feelings saying that. So next time, like, someone tries to, like, diss me, I'll be like, who is that? Who? Like Conor McGregor, like, who the fuck is that? Even though I know exactly who that person is.
Dude, Blessing, he's a cool dude, man. I like that guy. He's got great energy to him.
Yeah. Dude, there was a little bit of a stigma that bodybuilders are kind of cranky.
I mean, maybe
during
in prep, but all the guys I know are pretty cool.
Yeah. So.
And they love fighters, so they're always. I guess I'm always dealing with guys who know who I am, so it's they're cool.
So Chris, every time you hop on here, you seem to be a little tanner. So what skin tone will you say you have right now? Like what do you call that? What do we call that?
Bronzed?
Bronze.
Mediterranean? I don't know. What do you?
I think Mediterranean is about Mediterranean. Right. You look like Zohan right now. You're like
he's a bad mother sucker. So
that's true.
Freaking pimp daddy from Cyprus.
I got a Cyprian guy in the gym, Kostas Philippou, and he's also a bad dude.
I recognize that name.
Yeah, he was a UFC guy. He had a lot. I mean, he at one time had the record for UFC consecutive wins, I believe. He fought Luke Rockhold.
Does he have little arms?
I mean, he's jacked.
Yeah, like T-Rex arms.
Yeah, ish.
Yeah, so I think.
Big tattoo on his chest, shaved head. He's actually a pretty decent boxer too.
Yeah, that's not the one that I'm talking about, but okay, whatever, man. So whatever happened to that guy?
I mean, I think his last fight was Rockhold. Rockhold stopped him, body kick. And
I remember that fight.
But yeah, he's in the gym all the time still. Super fucking jacked. Stay super fit, and yeah, he's working as a corrections officer now, so he made good.
What do you guys think happened to Luke Rockhold? Chris, I know that you're friendly with him, training out of sometimes.
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. Honestly, I think a lot of it is, I think it's just his style. He's so offensive minded and just doesn't. he just gets in the heat of the moment, just starts swinging. Like in that last fight when he fought John Blakovic. I mean,
You didn't
was doing
respect him
well
at
in the
all.
beginning. Yeah, he was doing well in the beginning, and then he got clipped with that high kick, and then he just started swinging. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, gather
Yeah.
yourself a little bit. He got clipped. It happens. You get rung. Like, find yourself and then get back to it. And he just went guns blazing. and got clipped.
His ego stepped in and he went tit for tat.
You know what it is in the gym? He's such a monster. His ground is really good. He's super long, super strong. His offense from a kickboxing stance is very dynamic. And I think he's used to being so dominant in the gym. Fight night's a whole different thing. You put those little gloves on.
Yeah, anything can
Big
happen.
difference.
So, Gary, have you seen his
Yeah.
fights? His last fights?
I haven't been keeping super close track of him, but I'm aware of ups and downs. And yeah, that he's
Okay.
not really doing as good as he was consistently in the past years.
Okay, so you can just sit this one out, Gary. Okay, let the big boys talk. Hey, Chris, so would you say that he's chinny?
I don't know, because MMA is different than boxing.
Well,
Because there's so
your
many,
chin is your
there's so many
chin,
ways
right?
to get knocked out. Yeah, your chin's your chin, but there's so many ways to get knocked out. It's just with those little gloves on, and then you got knees and head kicks. You look at the K1 guys, right? They knock each other out all the time, and guys live long careers training and fighting that way, and they knock each other out. It is what it is. I don't know. I think I can't compare, boxers and MMA and that term chinny.
Okay.
I think sometimes it does go away. You're having a chin and being able to take a shot. We saw that with Chuck Liddell, but
Well,
yeah, I don't
he's
know.
Chuck Liddell definitely lost his chin.
Yeah, he used to take a shot, but
All of them.
From the way that John explained it to me, the idea of going unconscious from impact is somewhat of a trained reflex. So it's a reflex that starts to get worse and worse the more often it happens. It's not just from the brain damage; it's your body is it's like a defensive mechanism to reset itself
you.
when it receives that impact. So the more you get knocked out, the more likely it is that you're going to get knocked out.
Really?
Yeah. Same
That's
thing with
really
strangles.
interesting.
There's a strangle reflex, and the more you just allow yourself to get strangled unconscious, the easier it is to strangle someone unconscious.
Huh.
Did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Yeah.
But John Danaher, he's the man. So, Gary, tell me about your rants on. Tell me about what's going on with people snitching
Oh man.
on each other, man.
So
So,
I'm sure it's probably happening in the boxing world too. I think because realistically, this is just happening everywhere. So I've been hearing it in a number of different areas in my sport, and then also just like random businesses. So I'll tell you a couple different stories. So the first is one that came out with a guy named Boogeyman, Richie Martinez, who was just teaching Zoom classes at his gym. So he's trying to do the online thing. Somebody, because the lights were on, just called the police. And he got a citation or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know how much money. He didn't include that in his post. And then another story, unrelated, just like another business, same sort of story. A tattoo parlor in my town was open, and when I say open, it was had the lights on, and the police were called, and the guy was just doing renovations inside his shop. He didn't have anybody in there. He wasn't tattooing anybody. Now I'm assuming they didn't write him a citation because it was just him in there, but still, people are just going crazy. I understand kind of what's going through people's heads, and they're freaking out, they're nervous, they feel somehow by somebody else doing something like that, it somehow puts them at risk or whatever the case may be. I don't know how whatever emotions are invoked, or maybe it's boredom, or maybe whatever it is.
maybe it's a competition.
Man,
bro.
it seems like such a shit mentality to just have a country full of people trying to tattle on each other, and then even farther than that, the U.S. government, well, I guess individual governments of states, California is probably the worst. They've actually incentivized it to the point where they'll give cash rewards to people who snitch on people who they don't, aren't quarantining properly or running illegal businesses that are quote unquote unessential. In New York, they posted a thing, basically like a text number, where if you can snap a photo of somebody who's not following, quarantine regulations or whatever it is, you can send it to the government and they could potentially act on it. And it's just,
Dude, that's some bullshit, man.
It's I don't think people realize how harmful that really is in so many ways for so many different people. And I totally get everybody's individual opinions and decisions, but the idea that they're just ratting on other people and involving in themselves in other people's business Man,
especially
it's
for money.
such a
The
bad
fact
thing.
that they're giving out money for that in a time when people are struggling, that's crazy. You know, you're gonna have people who are going out of their way to look for people.
You're gonna have people
Sure.
just looking for establishments that have their lights on.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. And I don't know, man. Like everybody, I just think everybody should make up their minds about what they're gonna do. That's fine, but like, you know, the idea that you're gonna be like snitching on other people, it seems so crazy to me. If it's not interfering directly with you, if somebody's not, you know, in your face coughing or making contact with you and you don't want it to happen, like that's a different story. But when people are just doing their own shit, they're doing their own shit. Especially these guys, like they're literally just doing the best they can to keep their business alive because they're no longer, you know, legally, they're no longer allowed to have clientele come into their place of business, and they're doing their absolute best to abide by restrictions and try to do these online sessions and still getting fucking shit on for it, which is just insane to me.
Well, I don't know how jiu-jitsu is, but I'm assuming you can do private lessons with 2 people, right? You can have a coach.
So from what my one buddy told me, because his place, I don't know what raided is the correct word, but like the police showed up, right? Because his lights were on, he was doing one of those Zoom sessions. They told him that he's only allowed to do it in his place of business if he's the only person there. He's not allowed to have another training partner to teach the session. That's what they told him.
How do you display a maneuver?
Well, exactly. So, but 2 people, even 2 people to group together like that is to them is considered you're not allowed to be in operation like that.
That's nuts. That's nuts. I think private lessons, like even for trainers, if you can train one person, what's the problem with that? You can hang out with one other person, like that's not illegal.
Well,
Why?
apparently that's the suggestion then, is that, you know, if you get you shouldn't be, you know, you should never see anybody else outside your the group of people of which you live. And and then the crazy part about all this, you know, mixing that in, is that there's still a line of 400 people outside of fucking Costco, and yeah, they're 6 feet apart, but I mean, it's still 400 people.
Some dude, I think they shot some dude in one of those Costco's. Wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of some crazy Costco. I don't know why it's always Costco. It's always Costco when shit's going.
Well, they have the best deals, Chris. That's why.
I guess so. I gotta get my Costco card.
Are you concerned with skin cancer, bro?
Me?
Yeah. I'm like having trouble concentrating. Fucking this guy's glowing over here.
All I can do is walk. I run and I walk. So
do you like wear sunscreen?
I just came from the store just now and I just walk and.
I'm like your mom. Are you wearing sunscreen, Chris?
Do you have any information? Because I had heard, it's just rumor, but I'd seen it posted online a little bit about what they're doing with Florida beaches. They said that they're potentially opening them back up and stuff.
Gary, I read about that. So in Florida and South Carolina are reopening their beaches.
Yeah.
In Florida, this Friday, Governor Ron DeSantis gave the green light to like reopen the coast.
Sure.
So.
What are cases like down here though?
It's like the highest in Florida. It's the highest it's ever been. At the moment they reopened the beaches. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, isn't that the case for everywhere? Is there a state where it's not the highest it's quote unquote ever been? Like, because it's a spreading virus, like obviously it's the highest it's ever been.
Yeah, I don't think he's paying attention to those statistics.
Everything's going to get higher. I mean, New York City was the epicenter, and it's gonna spread out. Like, it's gonna pick up down here too.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
I saw in Los Angeles.
Also, dude, Florida's crazy. Floridians, they don't give a fuck.
And now California is jealous, and they're having protests with a bunch of surfers and beachgoers.
Yeah, dude.
Wanting that.
As they should. Like, dude, how the fuck should somebody not be able to surf? It's literally probably one of the best things you could possibly do to not come in contact with other people. I mean, sure, if you want to break up surfers that are surfing together and coming in close contact, I get it. But if people are just minding their own business, doing their own thing on the beach, why not? I mean, how is that not safer than fucking waddling into Costco with 400 people? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's not. I guess they're trying to limit masses like getting together. But I mean, dude, people need to go out and get some sun, walk around for a little bit.
But other people.
Bro, Chris is consuming all the sun, dog.
My vitamin D levels are through the roof right now. Corona's not getting in here.
Chris, I saw the monkey picture that you sent.
Dude.
The chimpanzee pic.
Hairless chimpanzee. I think I heard about it on The Fighter and the Kid. You got me into listening to that podcast.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
It's funny.
It's funny.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they have
And,
some pretty good guests on it.
Yeah, they do. And Brian Callen brought up a hairless chimpanzee and how terrifying they were. I looked the thing up. I was like, holy shit.
Things are yoked.
Yeah, you can see the muscle definition that those motherfuckers have.
Fucking tricep, shoulder,
Shredded. Shredded.
So ironically, we were having a conversation, probably because they were also watching that podcast. I'm guessing somebody in our friend group. And John was telling me that he had a friend that used to train. It was like a purple belt, so like 220 pounds. And his brother was some sort of animal researcher and brought home a female 60-pound immature chimpanzee and had like a little party. And like a bunch of his friends were coming over, like, you know, playing with the chimpanzee. They were having a good time. But John's friend,
Was alcohol involved?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, this story's going to get good.
So anxious listening to this story.
Yes.
So John's friend is just kind of like, he's more of like a loner type. So he just kind of like sits on a bench and starts reading the New York Times. And he's kind of trying to mind his own business while everybody else is playing with his chimpanzee. But the chimpanzee notices him and is like, who's this guy? Like just sitting by himself, you know, let me mess with him. So she starts trying to play games with him. And she like hops up on his lap and stuff. But he's kind of like, I'm not really interested. Like he's pushing the chimpanzee off like he would push off a dog. You know what I mean? Nothing crazy. It wasn't like hitting the chimpanzee or anything like that. But he just was like trying to like show it like, hey, man, like I'm not interested in messing with. At a certain point, the chimpanzee just gets fucking pissed and jumps on top of him and grabs onto his hair with both hands like this, and then starts fucking trying to gouge out his eyes and fucking bite him and all kinds of. He apparently the chimp took the hair, pulled it in, and then took its teeth and just dug it straight into the top of his skull.
Deserved it.
Nice.
So now he's like fighting this chimpanzee off, who's just like literally just attached to his head. Like he peels one hand off. The guy said that like when he grabbed onto the chimpanzee's wrists to try to like, because this is a guy that did jiu-jitsu, so like he has at least some concept of like breaking grips and things. Like he tries to like peel a hand off. As he goes to try to peel the hand of the chimpanzee off, he said that it felt like steel cable.
And he was laughing. The chimp was laughing.
And this is, yeah, exactly. This is a 60-pound female, young, like not even like full adult chimpanzee. And he said like, dude, it was just like holding on to steel wire.
Wait, so Gary, a female got offended and aggressive because she wasn't getting phone attention? Really? I can't believe that.
Dude, I don't know, Gary. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know what's more preposterous. I don't know what's more preposterous. Some dude getting attacked by a chimp or someone inviting a person to a party that shows up with a fucking book. That chimp needed to fuck that dude up. Who arrives with a fucking book to a party? This isn't the fucking library, bro. Step out.
Yeah, so what happened to the guy?
The guy keeps fighting the chimp off. Okay, he's doing his absolute best, and he's failing miserably. He's just no success whatsoever. At some point, a guy breaks out like a power washer and sprays it in the direction of the chimp, but ends up just like blinding the guy and just ends up hitting the guy like in the face. So now he can't see. There's a chimp on his head. Somehow he manages to get a disconnect between him and the chimp.
I'll do some sound effects as you're saying the story.
I have. So
keep going.
So then the chimp comes running at him again, and he like falls backwards and puts his feet between him and the chimp, and he hits like what's called a tomonage, where you just throw somebody over your head. So the chimp rolls over his head and smashes its head into the ground, like into the concrete. Just goes ding. And then the chimp is just like, okay, I'm done. Like it just became docile after that, and just started like being like smiling and laughing and being playful again. And like meanwhile, he's just fucking, you know.
He just got beat up by a chimp at a party. He's soaking wet because they sprayed him with a fucking power hose. Dude, go home.
Guys, call an ambulance.
So,
not your night.
So they're like trying to nurse him. They're trying to like put alcohol in his cuts and shit that he's got. And as he gets led out the door to try to go home, he just sees the chimp, which they, for whatever reason, they didn't like restrain or put in a room or anything. The chimp is just sitting in like a high chair watching the Flintstones eating fucking cereal, and it sees him leave and looks at him and smiles. Yeah, it's like, whoo, and then goes back to eating its fucking cereal.
It was definitely must have been playing with him, because if it wanted to, it would have.
No, 100%. That's exactly it. Like that was just like a play fight for the female chimp. Like it was a game. Yeah. It's like, oh, you're gonna mess with me, you're gonna throw me off.
Dude, thinking about like the steel cables with the wrists, that's such a great way to explain it. That's exactly what I feel like when you look at those. Their arms are so dense.
Terrifying. And then you look at pictures. You got to look up pictures of like people getting mauled by these things, man. They just don't even have a fucking space.
That's why I've been so nervous listening to this story, because I know people like literally got their fingers bit off, they bite their noses off, they rip their fucking teeth out, break their jaws. It's crazy.
Yeah. Apparently they go for the fingers first, because for them, like their hands are such an important part of their ability to fight and their ability to get away, because chimps don't run very fast. So they like grab onto things and swing. So they're like, all right, I'm going to take your way of evasion and your way of defense right away. Just rip your fucking fingers off.
I love monkeys. Fucking love monkeys.
I could tell from the beginning of the story when you were like, I think it's his fault.
Yeah,
dude, yeah. I sided with a monkey right away. My hands started getting clammy actually when you started telling the story. So I was reading up on a study on chimpanzees, and this University of I think it was Philadelphia. They made a study with a football team and something called a dynometer, which is like a machine where you pull it.
Yeah.
And like the strongest, I guess, person on the football team did about 500 pounds of, I guess, pressure, just pulling.
Sure.
And then a chimpanzee at the Philadelphia Zoo did like 1,300 pounds.
Yeah. But the thing is that
let's say one of the
when they're not trying.
Yeah, he was probably just fucking around too.
You know what I mean?
Chimp. It wasn't like fight or flight.
Yeah, in order for you to really see their full strength, they'd have to be threatened, because they don't. It's not like us where we're like, oh, we're gonna go try to lift this weight as hard as we could. Like they would just never do that for no reason.
They're like, oh, do this, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that was probably like half his physical strength, whatever that chimp was.
Their bone density is apparently like 8 times as hard as ours too. So
yeah,
they fall out of trees and shit.
You know what other monkeys I love? Baboons. Bro,
is it because of the ass?
Dude, yeah, they
because of the ass. I know it is. You like that red ass.
They look like they
fetish over there.
Like they got butt blasted for hours. so
they're nasty too. Aren't they the nasty ones? Like they're mean?
Bro, they raid villages and they throw rocks like upwards of 100 miles per hour. Imagine like a gang of fucking baboons just throwing rocks like crazy at villagers and fucking just taking everybody out.
Dude, humans are such pussies. Like, we're smart, but we can't fuck with any
animal. We can't fight. The only thing we have going for us is our ability to work in a group and our endurance. And it's pretty much.
And our brains, of course.
Well, the brain, of course, for sure. But that's like pretty much, and the ability to kind of like work with tools. I mean, the chimps could kind of work with tools too, but they wouldn't be able to make them. But like, if it wasn't for that, man, we would have been fucked.
Yeah, we suck.
Bro, see how Blessing's story, where, Blessing is probably like a 280-pound person, and this champ just slapped him around.
Yeah.
Fucking pimp slapped his ass.
He's like, all right, I'm good. He hit me once. That's it. That's all I got to know.
Fuck no. Once he felt that, that hit on his forehead, man.
You gotta send me that picture. I want to see what happened to his head.
Yeah, I'll show you guys. It's in his video blog, the Myrtle Beach one, but I'll send you a screenshot of that shit.
Dude. Animals, they mean business. My my family has a toy poodle. That's
a little bitch ass dog.
Little bitch dog, and it just recently started. It's old as fuck, and just started indiscriminately attacking people. Just doesn't give a fuck. Like before, it was kind of territorial, where like if you sat on the couch next to it and there was another person and you looked like you made a motion towards the other person, it would kind of freak out. Like it's very protective.
So he's senile now.
Just fucking freaks out for no reason. My sister just said she got up off the couch and like kind of went near him, and he fucking latched onto her. And I'm like, you guys need to put this thing away. Like you can't just let it roam around the house anymore.
So the dog is like senile now.
It like bit
He's like,
somebody's
"Who the fuck
kid
are
the
you?"
other day. I'm like, guys, one day it's gonna hurt somebody for real. My sister was saying that like it bit her like close to her eye or something. And I'm like, one day it's gonna hurt somebody for real, and then you guys are gonna be like, oh my god, we never saw it coming. It's like you definitely should have fucking saw it coming. Like,
Yo, you imagine if the dog has like dementia or some shit like that and doesn't recognize people. He's like, "Who the fuck are
Sure.
you?" and bites the shit out of your sister and your whole family
I
members.
mean, at this point, they kind of fucking deserve it. Like, he
Yeah.
gave you warning signs, motherfuckers.
He's a grumpy old man. He's fucking. He don't
Dude.
give a shit.
Talking about dementia and senile people. So, Chris, my first experience in Boca at the supermarket.
Mm.
So I arrive my first week of college, and I go to the supermarket, right? So I'm like grabbing up on. I think I was getting some cereal, some stuff on the top shelf of one of the aisles. And as I'm doing this, both of my hands are grabbing whatever I'm grabbing. I don't remember what I was putting in my cart. So both of my hands were up in the air.
Frankie just runs through the fucking shopping center, just skipping,
Yeah, like
grabbing random shit.
Like
Well,
a
this
kid.
was-
Like
this
if
was
it was
college,
a
right?
supermarket sweepstakes.
This was college. You were down
Yeah,
there?
it was college.
Yeah,
It was
so you're
college.
probably grabbing a cup of noodles or something off the
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably some
was
stupid shit
ramen.
like that. Yeah.
Ramen.
And all of a sudden I feel someone hits me with a shopping cart. Boom, like on my hip. And I like the thing like fell on my head, whatever it was. I forget what it was. It fell on my head. Cuz fucking it made me fumble it. Dude, I was about to throw down, right? I'm like threatened. Somebody really hit me really hard with a shopping cart. And when I look, it's this little old lady,
I
and
was gonna
she's
say,
looking at me, and we have a stare down, bro.
Yeah, 90-year-old.
A 90-year-old lady just staring at me like, "What you gonna do, Sonny?" Bro. And I'm like, my hands are like, what's going on? And she's like, "Watch it."
She hit you.
She hit me.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
The thing
You
fell on
watch
my head. And
You
you
watch it,
fucking
motherfucker.
watch it.
That's
Watch
how
it.
they are, man.
And then she leaves. I'm like, whoa.
I saw a
Um,
guy today. I was just walking, and you think I'm red. This guy was like radioactive red, bright red as your headphones. He's walking. I see him walking, and he's walking kind of erratically. I don't know if he's got like a bum knee or whatever.
The
It
tune of
looked like
Rock
he had some
Lobster
kind of
starts
cane
playing
with
in
him,
his head.
and he had like a hood kind of on, but like no sleeves. It was very strange, the whole thing. And he's bright red. His chest is out, red. And he's walking and he's talking. And it was almost like he was, I thought maybe he had earbuds in or something, but I'm like, this guy's 125 years old. He does not have earbuds. And he's walking and he's pointing with the cane or crutch. And he's like talking and he's like punching the thing towards me because I'm walking on the same path. So I walk on the grass and he's just talking, but I realize he's not talking to me because he keeps talking while walking by. Speaking of dementia, and that guy was out of his mind.
So you thought he had some hands-free
Initially,
going
yeah.
on.
And then I was like, no way. And then I just realized he's just talking to himself the entire way. Just
Amazing.
walking,
Oh, maybe he was
Love it.
maybe he was pumping himself up, man.
That's
Don't
the
you
best.
guys
though.
talk to yourself when you're gonna go and fight?
Yeah, a little positive self-talk. It's important.
A little bit of self-talk. That little
Yeah.
Diego Sanchez action.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yes.
So yes.
See, that dude was about
Yes.
to get his fuck on with a younger lady, man. Had to
he,
fucking
well, it
get
was
his
bright
pump
red.
up.
He maybe did
it's
have
amazing
Viagra.
though that in this day and age you see somebody talking to themselves and you don't know. Like, are you fucking really crazy or you have earbud? Like, you have no idea like what they're actually doing. I had an old lady hit my car when I was parked outside my grandma's house years ago, and I knew it was gonna happen because I put it in a spot where if you weren't really paying attention when you were backing up, you were gonna hit, but there just really wasn't anywhere else to park. So I'm like crossing my fingers I don't get hit, but probably I'm in an old folks home. More than likely I'm gonna get hit. So I come back, I realize she hits me. There's like a softball sized dent in my bumper like this. And the lady's outside when I come up to my car and she goes, "Oh, hello." She goes, "Well, I figure you could," she sees some other dings and shit on my car. She's like, "I figure you can get that fixed, when you get the other things fixed." And she didn't acknowledge, like there was no apology about running into the car. It was just like, "Hey, like when you go get that fixed, you can get this fixed."
While
and
you're at it.
fine.
Bro, how funny would it have been if she would have given you like $5? Been like in the 1920s.
This should cover it.
This should cover that, and buy yourself a cola.
Not even that. I don't think she felt any level of guilt about it whatsoever. I don't think she gave a shit. I didn't do anything though. Like I didn't like try to get her insurance. I don't give a fuck. Like if it was my grandma, I would hope somebody would just try to be nice. Like it's not like she destroyed or totaled my car. It's just
Gary,
the shitty
Gary
car.
gave her a shakedown.
What do you got?
What do you got?
What do you got in there?
Give me that purse, bitch.
You know, the funny thing is with old people, they probably do have something of value in there. They just hoard everything. So you might get lucky, get an engagement ring, some
brooch or something.
Do you guys hoard? Are you guys hoarders?
I just had to throw so much stuff out when I moved. So
I'm a little bit of a hoarder.
A little bit, but
trying to get better at it. Yeah.
The move definitely killed a lot of it.
I like space. I like things open. I can't stack a bunch of shit up.
That's probably the best way to go about it.
I try my best to live by the mantra, like if I haven't used this in 6 months, like it needs to go. You know,
that's probably the best way to go.
It's hard sometimes though when it's like something you feel like has some value, and then you're like, all right, am I really going to expend the effort to sell this, or like go bring it somewhere where somebody else can take it? Like it's just.
It's funny that I would love to see your process while figuring out what needs to be thrown away, because you have like the stupidest shit around the house.
I do. I like my stupid shit I use for like comedy skits and stuff that I do. I have like wigs and fucking hats and weird shoes and stuff. I bought probably $500 worth of apparel to make fun of Dylan Dennis the last time that we had him out. Like I've just all kinds of shit that like he would wear, and I would use it for all of my social media posts. But I still have all of it just because I think it's funny.
Gary, would you ever or have you done stand-up, or would you ever?
It's been something that I've wanted to do for a really long time and just never really did it. When I was a kid, it's like pretty much all I would ever watch Comedy Central. And my favorite part was the stand-up. Like they had a lot of other stuff on there too. I always wish that on Comedy Central they would have had like how MTV did MTV and MTV2, where they just have the shows on one channel and then they have the music videos on the other channel. I figured that Comedy Central at some point would do just stand up on one channel and then like their comedy shows on the other. But I think by the time that would have happened, it got to a point where now we have Netflix and everything. It doesn't even make any sense to do that because everything's at everybody's fingertips. So
you should do it. I think you'd be good at it.
Yeah, maybe.
Or you could since you have all this shit like in your house, you could do like Carrot Top and do like a prop show.
You'd be a prop comic.
A prop comic, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, man.
The only guy who does that.
My friends that are comedians,
pretty much.
It's kind of cool, like to see like the progression. Like I have some friends that are comedians that, you know, are like obviously famous and they do Netflix specials, and then I have other friends that are comedians that, you know, they do like 5-10 minute sets, and it's just kind of like, you know, it's cool to ask them questions about that whole process because it's, you know, it's got to be like drastically different to go from one to the next and, you know, make it after, you know, grinding in these little clubs, you know, for years.
Well, it's like fighting or training or jiu-jitsu. Like it's reps, man. You gotta train.
You gotta put in the work.
So much. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And everybody says that it takes like a good 10 solid years of putting in the work for you to like come into your own and become like a good comic.
Yeah, I've heard that number too. That's like the number they all say. 10 years. Sounds
like the 10,000 hours. I think everybody just throws the 10 in front of anything. Oh yeah, 10. Just do 10. 10.
Nice round number.
Eyewitness News, where news comes first.
So, Neiman Marcus is filing for bankruptcy. You guys know Neiman Marcus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Neiman has 43 stores, and they're all going to be, well, they're shut down right now. And it's got a Last Call store, and New York City has Bergdorf and Goodman, and their department stores as well is going to shut down. They are $5 billion in debt.
Spaces. Huge. All of them are huge.
Yeah.
Dude, I used to frequent there sometimes, you know.
I've been to one in New York City countless times, but yeah.
Yeah.
They're massive, and they're all over. New York has a lot of them. I'm surprised there's only 43 stores.
Yeah.
Because New York
it's actually,
fucking.
dude, how long have they been in business, man? It seems like crazy to hear something like that. I think this is almost as shocking as when I heard that Toys R Us was going out of business.
Things are changing. All the big type stores are going under. Like everything is shipped to owner now.
It's interesting too. I think that like a store like that's big, we assume like, hey, like these guys, like, you know, they're big, they're a big brand, you know, they're able to take like a big hit, this, that, and the other thing. But like, let me give you an example. Like, so I'm a small business owner. I have a jiu-jitsu school. My rent it's like a little over $4,000 a month. Okay. So I have money saved up that's in the business account, you know, to be able to pay expenses and get, you know, equipment or whatever, you know, pay for the move and the painting and shit that we just got with our last place. So, but at the same time, the expenses are $4,000 a month. Plus, you know, I'm paying my employees and stuff now because I'm having them do the Zoom sessions and stuff too. So I haven't stopped paying my employees. So there's probably more expenses, but it's not, you know, it's nothing insane. It's not upwards of $10,000. You know what I mean? Which would be, that's a pretty big hit to take a month. But these places, man, the overhead on that has got to be insane. Just the rent alone, you know, with all those different stores. And now, like, you know, that's a tough hit to take. Maybe you're taking a $500,000 hit every month, you know, or more. Like, I mean, you can keep something like that open
from multiple locations all over the country.
Yeah, with no income, you can't sustain that, man. Like
15,000 employees.
Yeah, fuck.
Well, hotels are taking a huge hit too. Casinos are getting killed. Again, like you said, Gary, like they have huge overheads and tons of employees, and there's nothing coming in.
Yeah,
dude.
And then, like, you know, thinking about people losing their jobs. Well, now after these businesses shut down, they don't have jobs to go back to. You know, so not only do these people lose out on income for the last 2 months, now they don't have a way to get income when if we do decide to start things back up again. It's a pretty rough cascade that is going to take, I think, a long time to dig ourselves out of what's going to happen here. And it's really sad to see.
So CNBC also said that 24 Hours Fitness is also considering bankruptcy. So it's kind of like,
thinking about that too. That's another. Those are big lots.
This is an example of like stuff that we're going to be seeing more frequently, stuff to come.
Again, that rent has to be insane because those places are huge. 24-Hour Fitness, I mean, some of them have fucking pools and, you know, full basketball courts. I mean, that kind of space, that has to cost so much money.
Are there tax breaks for health clubs and gyms? I feel like I've heard that before.
I'm sure on some level there might be, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
I feel like I heard that though.
Yeah. But it's still no matter what breaks you're giving a company like that, that's like what we were talking about before with department stores. That's nowhere near the amount of space, I wouldn't imagine. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. I've never been into that store before, but.
So during the weekend, I've been reading a couple of articles that say that have this, let's say, theory that China sent the virus to Europe and America so their economy wouldn't be the only one to suffer.
As in, they got hit with it, and they're like, "All right, motherfuckers, you need to feel this pain too."
Yeah, like they didn't want to fall that behind on hard times. They're like, "We're not going to be the only ones in this boat."
I don't know, man.
That's pretty brutal. But I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, China's government is brutal. What they do to their own people.
It's so hard because there's so many layers of everything that are going on. You know, to like, it's like there's enough conspiracy. There's enough like stress dealing with the actual effects of what's going on that I can't even put my mind in a place where I'm able to think about like the origin of this or like if there's foul play afoot. Like I don't even have the capacity.
Okay, so I'll tell you this,
and then you're so in the now that you can really think about what the hell this could potentially have been from.
Okay, so I'll tell you this, and then you guys can tell me what you think after this.
Sure.
So China at the moment is America's most powerful rival, right?
Sure. They're everybody's most powerful rival.
Yeah, and when this began, the whole virus thing, it wasn't being transparent with what was going on. Yeah. So in Wuhan, like where it's like the epicenter of the outbreak, Chinese officials were punishing citizens and people that were working within the labs for talking about the disease, and doctors as
Yeah.
well. So it was like nobody could talk about the virus as if it was like Big Brother.
Yeah, it's a fairly common thing in China. They don't have like the same freedoms that we have with that sort of stuff. Like when you talk shit about the government or whatever, they'll make you disappear. They don't give a fuck.
Well, the thing is that, for example, when the U.S. government was communicating with the Chinese government, if they were transparent with what was going on, they could have helped contain the virus within the U.S.
I mean, I believe that any amount of notice would have made it easier, to manage. I think it's like really difficult though, because unless they could have pinpointed the exact start of it. I mean, let's think about how big China is with how many billions and billions of people. If even with how contagious they say this is, with no precautions being taken whatsoever, there's no social distancing, and in China everybody's crammed in and fucking doing their business. I mean, you don't think one person would have ended up on a flight to another country and then to another country? You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
well, the first thing that they were refuting, which
Uh-huh.
is kind of weird to me, is that the virus did not cause any human-to-human transmission.
Yeah, I remember that saying that. But I think they were just wrong. But I don't know. I don't know how much of information that China was willing to put out, because I still don't think they're correct or right or fully honest with their numbers. It doesn't really make sense. They have so many people and this this outbreak, and I know they acted in a way that we can't because of their big brothering and their utilitarian government. But at the same time, I don't know. It doesn't make sense how low their death numbers are.
I'll give you an example of how they have done stuff like this in the past in terms of like concealing things, and how they don't really give a shit about the impacts elsewhere. So I watched a documentary when I was on a plane not too long ago about it was something to do with an economic disaster that was being caused by China. So what China would do is they would find businesses that had been closed down in the United States. And when I say closed down, basically they're not really in operation, but the LLCs or business are still intact. You couldn't trade in the stock market as a Chinese business in the American economy. But what you could do is kind of use these American companies that weren't really in operation as kind of like a shadow for whatever Chinese corporation you were actually trying to support. So they would use these like mask organizations, and then they were claiming to have numbers like, let's say, in the millions of profit, right? Now, the Chinese government doesn't give a shit whether or not you report lies to the US as far as how much money you are making. And they're not required to share how much money you're making with the US. So what was happening is these companies were basically like fake companies, or the capacity that they had. Let's say they were making millions of dollars, they were really making thousands. And a group of bankers and financiers were starting to realize these companies were going under, and started to investigate and set up cameras. And they found that these companies that were saying they had this major output just were either barely functioning or only turned the lights on whenever somebody came by to like inspect, and like it was just a complete sham with not just like one company. We're talking like a countrywide thing where they were getting into the US stock market and basically selling fake companies. So, and again, that's all because the Chinese government didn't allow them to report whatever they wanted to the US government. Those companies, there's no sanctions. They didn't get in trouble for it either. There's no repercussions for what they did.
That's very shady.
Yeah.
I feel like there will be repercussions after like the whole world is stable, because this is probably like the third virus that has affected like the whole world that comes out of China. I mean, there was the
I don't think you're pronouncing that correctly, Frankie.
what thing?
It's China.
China. Oh, China. So
Gotta make sure your jaw really opens on the second syllable. China.
China.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, I gotta listen to Garry. He fights over there, so.
He's been there more than both of us put together. So
Yep.
You do know what I'm making fun of, right?
No.
Oh, it's
Chris, this is gonna be something like that flies right over our head, like
yeah.
the
So-
monkey thing that he had. What was his name? The baboon.
Yeah.
Oh, the gorilla.
Oh,
Baba. What was his name?
Oh,
Baba the
Harambe.
gorilla.
Harambe.
Harambe.
Yeah.
This is, I would say, much more well known than Harambe. It's when Trump was giving a speech, he was asked why he continues to call it the Chinese virus, and his response was, because it comes from China, and like he said it like a total like condescending dick, but like he enunciated China, and that was like a meme that was everywhere for a while. So.
I thought it was from World Police, the Matt and Trey Parker, Trey Stone movie.
More than likely, could be.
That's a great movie.
That was an
Great
amazing.
movie.
That's super underrated. I feel like more people need to watch that.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch that tonight.
Have you guys seen the Seth Rogen and Franco, James Franco, where they go
I
see?
I watched that the other day. It was parts that were funny, but I don't know.
I haven't seen it, but
I don't really like
feel
that
like
movie.
it's kind of like the same humor. But you saw
Pineapple
it, Garry?
Express or the North Korea one?
No, the
North
North Korea
Korea.
one.
North Korea one, yeah.
The Interview, it's called. The Interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was so controversial when it was happening. People were like afraid to watch it,
Yeah.
you know,
It got
thinking like
blocked. Like, I
Korea
think
was going to retaliate or something.
they
It
pulled
was
that
like
shit from
banned. I don't think originally it was in theaters, and then they only allowed it on Netflix.
theaters.
Oh shit! That's why they sent Dennis Rodman over there to put out the flames. Now it all makes sense.
You're just peanut butter and jealous.
So at least there's one positive news about this whole coronavirus. There's a new cure called ivermectin, and it's a head lice drug that's
I
reported.
thought head lice was the cure. Sorry.
No, like the drug that gets rid of head lice.
Oh, if it's pubic lice, I'm good. I'm curing them.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Gary
I'm
probably takes it now. Gary's like, oh, ivermectin? Yeah, I got boatloads of that shit.
Load up with that shit.
Rub it all over my balls.
Been lathering up with it since 1993.
Gary rubs it all over his ball and ass hairs. So studies indicate that after 48 hours in a test tube, the drug was found to have reduced the viral load of the COVID-19 from 5,000 units to just one, a reduction of 99.98%.
Hello.
And everybody is starting to implement that all over the world, and it's
as a
FDA approved
prophylaxis or as a
cure.
treatment?
as
Oh,
a
so
cure
this is something
on
that
patients.
this is something that is already approved.
Yeah,
you.
from the FDA. Yeah, it's approved
Interesting.
as.
That's
That's-
interesting. That's very
And
cool.
it's fun. It's funny that I saw this article because they're implementing it here in the Dominican Republic. So
Huh.
if they're doing it here, they're
Start
probably
with
doing
you
it.
guys. You guys can
Yeah.
let us know how it goes.
Yeah. Hey man, I mean, I
Yeah.
hope it works. That would be amazing. I mean, that is the biggest problem in all of this is like short of, trying to find some way to continue social distancing while opening things back up, this, that, and the other, like the only end in sight for any of this would have been a vaccine. And like everybody's always saying like, hey dude, like a vaccine takes like 2 years and by then it's pretty much going to be done. So to have something that already exists as a drug work as a treatment is pretty awesome. I'd seen a couple other things that they were saying were kind of they were using for treatment, but the studies were really small and it didn't seem like they were basically just like they would grab 300 people, give them something, and then be like, oh well, none of the 300 people died, and it's like, well, yeah, well they kind of had a low percent chance of dying to begin with, so 300 is not a very big group, but yeah, man, I hope that. The way that it's described as in terms of reducing the viral load, if it can actually do that when it's administered to a person, I mean, that's fucking great. I hope it works.
That would be really good for the healthcare workers who are getting exposed to the viral load so high. And they're saying that's why a lot of even like young doctors are getting sick.
Mm.
But yeah, they repurposed a few drugs. They did the malaria drug. Frankie, what's that one called? That's the
Which one? A drug?
The malaria drug that they've been using.
It's like a Tamiflu type of thing.
I don't remember what it's called.
Something chlorocoxyl,
Yeah,
chlorococcus, or some hydrochlorococci.
That plus zinc, and then I heard quinine also, like in tonic water or something that was.
They were also administering azithromycin, which I thought was weird at first because azithromycin is a bacterial, antibiotic, which would normally only work on bacteria. But it wasn't actually, the azithromycin wasn't for curing the disease. It was for in case you got pneumonia afterwards, a bacterial pneumonia afterwards, to hopefully decrease the likelihood that you might die from pneumonia if you were like an older person or whatever the case may be.
That's what it goes. It goes from like the back of your throat and your upper respiratory tract is where the COVID does
Sure.
the damage, but then you get the bacterial infection in your lower respiratory tract, and that's when it gets really, really dangerous.
Dude,
Azithromycin is such a great antibiotic because it's like, go ahead.
Which one?
I was just saying it's
Oh yeah, I take that too.
because you only have to take it once typically, and it lasts for like a week. Like it absorbs into your fat cells and then gets distributed instead of having to take something, 2-3 times a day every day, and then maybe you forget it one time. Like it's just in your body.
Isn't it 3 pills, like a 3-pill cycle?
It depends on how much you take. A lot of times they'll administer, like, for instance, a gram of it all at once, and then it's supposed to that'll kill whatever you got. But it's hard to say. It's really dependent upon what you have.
That thing has saved me a bunch of times.
I wonder what for.
Okay. Moving along. Dude, how funny would it have been like if they had a company meeting at a small pharmaceutical company, and they were talking to the dude that in R&D that made this ivermectin, the pube thingy. They're like, John, this drug isn't working out. We're going to have to let you go. And now all of a sudden, this thing just skyrockets.
Yeah. But he sold it to somebody else at like an extremely low price. He's like, there's not that many people getting head lice anymore. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I guess I should just sell my innovation to somebody else.
This whole pubic lice thing is just not selling.
It's Chris's fitness tips. He's got for you. He's got the little tips. He's gonna give it all to you. Just the tip. The little fitness tip. He's gonna give it all to you.
Tips and tricks and Chris's nutritionist hack and tricks and tips and just a tip.
You should create a soundbite for that.
Love that song.
There's definitely a soundbite for just the tip.
All right, Chris.
Song, Frankie.
All right. So since we're talking so much about immune systems and whatnot, so keeping your own immune system strong. So somewhere between 60 and 80% of your immune system is actually in your gut. So a few things that can help with that specifically are probiotics, right? We hear about probiotics and gut health and immunity all the time. And then we also hear about prebiotics. So people are like, what's the difference? Prebiotic, probiotic. The probiotic is the actual living organism that is the internal gut flora. The prebiotic is the undigestible fiber that the probiotic eats. So think of the prebiotic as the food for the bacteria and the probiotic as the actual bacteria. So certain prebiotics are things like garlic, onions, things that are indigestible, like fibrous foods. And then probiotics you can get food-wise if you don't want to take a supplement. Things like kimchi, sauerkraut, fermented foods. Those are really good for yogurt.
Greek yogurt?
Yeah. Yogurt, Greek yogurt, and kefir especially, Kefir.
Kombucha.
Kefir, whatever.
Yeah.
Kombucha is another good one. Fermented foods that are really popular. So those are really good probiotics to get that good bacteria going. And the idea is that if you have a lot of the healthy bacteria in your gut, it'll kind of balance out any kind of bad bacteria you might have, which keeps the gut health up there, keeps your body's ability to deal with stress and any kind of foreign invaders like a virus, keeping that immune system up. So you need kind of both. Like it's like you buy fish, but you don't buy fish food, right? So you want to have the probiotic, but also feed it the right kind of fiber so it can procreate and
So it's
proliferate.
you would say that prebiotics are just as important as probiotics.
It can be if you want to have a strong gut flora. Yeah, you want to feed those little badass bacteria, what they need to do their job.
You hear that, Gary? You want to implement that in your diet?
I've had good experiences with probiotics, but after I've taken like a bunch of antibiotics or something, I've always felt like it kind of helped.
Antibiotics fuck me up.
Hard to say.
I don't feel good a while after I take them.
For me, it's really just my digestive system. I don't
Yes.
experience a lot of people will say they feel fatigued and things. I pretty much just shit myself for a week, 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes even longer than that. The worst one I was ever on. So for anybody out there that's going to be taking any oral antibiotics, I take clindamycin for my face. It's like a topical, which is fine. It's beautiful. Works awesome. I don't really use it consistently anymore, even though I have a giant zit on my nose right now. But I did just start putting it on that. But somebody prescribed it for
It's for, what is it for? Acne?
Typically, they use it as a topical antibiotic for acne.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I had a doctor prescribe me for staph clindamycin instead of what they normally use, which would be like for staph Bactrim, if it's like a more hardcore staph, or I'm trying to think what was the other thing they had. Doesn't make a difference. But anyway, they put clindamycin. Man, I have never had my stomach more torn up for a longer period of time than with clindamycin in my system.
So it was an oral clindamycin, an oral version of the topical you use?
Yeah, I think they were trying to. I think this doctor was attempting to give me something stronger because I had just had staph not too long before that, or maybe he was trying to switch up the drugs in case the staph that wasn't really dead and was like latent in my system. But man, that wrecked me, dude. I never want to take that antibiotic ever again. It was horrible.
Did you like literally shit your pants?
I probably came fucking close. It was really uncomfortable too. Like, unlike normally, like it just makes me shit. This time it was like actually painful. Like my stomach was in pain. It was rough. So
That's what it is for staph, right? So you have to take an oral antibiotic, right, for staph?
So that's the crazy thing with staph, and like how often like guys that are on the mats and stuff get it and things, is literally more than likely, if it wasn't for antibiotics and someone got a staph infection, they would just die.
Yeah.
There is no like, once you get a staph infection, like you're pretty much fucked. I mean, it's, and especially MRSA, it spreads very rapidly. There's not a lot that can really treat it. You kind of have to take an antibiotic. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And sometimes people delay it really, really far. I just recently saw a photo of a woman's entire chest cavity was just like eaten away by staph.
Ouch.
Like, it's just, sometimes people wait really, really long. And what's fucked up is like a lot of doctors, like I know when I have staph for the most part, like because I'm on the mats all day. I see other people get it, whatever the case may be, and then something happens. It's different than just a regular pimple. Like, this is a pimple that's on my nose right now. It'll start out like that, but start to know it's staph if it's like warm. It starts to become very painful. Like, you could potentially have a fever. There's like this cascade of problems that start building. So by the time I go to the doctor, I'm like, listen, dude, like, this is definitely staph. They're like, it just looks like a little cellulitis. You can just go home. I don't think you need anything. I'm like, listen, I need antibiotics now. And then sometimes they won't give them to you, dude. You got to go home for 3 days, wait till the staph gets fucking worse. And then it takes longer for it to leave your system when I could have taken the antibiotics earlier. One time I went in with a fever. I had all these symptoms, everything. They just upped my dose of oral antibiotics when I really needed an IV drip because it was getting so bad that it was hard to walk.
Yeah, I had MRSA on my fingertip. I had like when you get like that, you tear up a piece of your like the inside your cuticle. And then I was at the gym and I had a night of sparring, and then afterwards I did a little bag work, but I don't want to go outside in the winter cold because that's where my lighter gloves were. So I used one of the gym gloves.
Oh.
So
Dirty
I
ass glove gym.
out, I go home, I go to sleep thinking nothing of it. I wake up at like 2 a.m. and I feel like my bicep is on fire.
Yeah.
So I'm like, thinking, I tore my bicep. Oh my God.
That's a fast spreading staph infection, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that fast.
Yeah.
I had red lines. I'll show you. I'll send
yes, that happens.
I had red streaks going up my arm into here. It went into my lymph node in here, went into my neck.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, my mother works in a hospital. I call up. I'm like, Mom, I have a really, really bad infection. I need antibiotics like immediately.
Yeah.
So I literally got on it that day, but my finger literally fell apart. It blew up like this.
Yeah.
And it was like necrotic. It was falling apart. I'll send you the pictures. Horrible.
Ouch.
It's the tissue. It's fucking disgusting, man. But yeah, that was a really fast spreading one. I've had one where the very first one I ever had, I think I waited too long to like go to a doctor to get antibiotics, and it was right above my ass cheek. And there was same thing. I had a red line going from like where it was on my ass cheek all the way to my inner thigh where my lymph nodes are on the inside. And same thing, dude. And I started to get really sick. I actually had to go to like the emergency room because I was feeling so shitty.
the nurse I was talking to, she's like, "Is it past your wrist?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "You need to come in for an IV." I'm like, "Nah,
Yeah.
It's in my neck.
Let's see what happens." Bacterium. When you said that, that's what made me think about it.
Bacterium.
That
Yeah.
Bacterium plus one other really strong
Yeah.
one. And it was 2 weeks out from a fight. It was my last week of sparring, so I had to cancel all my sparring.
Shit.
I literally was hitting pads with one hand. I waited a couple of days.
Did they IV you?
Ouch.
No, they didn't.
Wow.
They would have if it was this hand, because I have an implant in here. She
Yeah.
goes, if that was your other hand, and that can get infected, the implant, and then we got to remove it. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, that's not.
At that point, dude, I would have fought for the IV because you'll get rid of it quicker.
I honestly should have, but it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my first time. I never had
Sure,
MRSA or staph before.
Yeah, it's less likely for you guys because you don't really spend time with skin surfaces contacting things. But yeah, using dirty gloves, that'll fucking do it for sure.
Yep. Never again.
Wow.
Garry, have you ever had like to roll and had like stomach issues?
Oh yeah. Happens all the time.
Okay, and then my follow-up question is, have you ever shit your pants while grappling?
No, I haven't I've shit my pants before many times, but not while grappling.
Well, what
so-
activity then?
What's that?
What activity were you doing?
All the time,
Life.
I do know a story of a dude who did shit his pants in a match. You can actually look it up online. I think it's called Farda Plata. And
Ouch.
the guy, he puts the guy in an omoplata or something, and maybe eventually triangles him and fucking sharts himself. And like the guy like fucking vomits and loses the match or something like that. The other guy, the guy that got shit on.
Wait, the guy that got shit on loses the match?
Yeah, you can't
That's
throw
kind of
up
bullshit
like
is
in the
that?
middle. You throw up in the middle of a match, you're
Oh, but
disqualified.
you can shit on another dude?
Apparently they deemed that okay.
Jiu-Jitsu rules are weird.
Well, dude, one time I got cut and I got disqualified because it wouldn't stop bleeding because they don't do blood tests for grappling. So if you have uncontrollable bleeding and you only have a certain amount of blood time, and after that blood time ticks away, they're like, nah, they're like, you can't go anymore. Depending on the organization, they're trying to fight to have grappling take mandatory blood tests now, at least for the professional events. I mean, I think it's kind of a good idea, obviously. Like, I don't think it's that as likely as a fight for people to really get cut open where it's really that big of a deal. But, I mean, it's safer, per se, to have that happen.
Garry, you know what would be like one of my MMA dream matches right now? Well, not right now. Maybe when you're like a little bit more ahead in your career and have a little bit more experience. You and Gracie.
Oh, please. I'll take that fight any fucking day. I don't need more MMA experience for that guy. Absolutely not.
I mean,
I'm ready.
Yeah, you're right. Like your stand-up, I think is better than his.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
He's a tough son of a bitch, though.
Like where I want to be with MMA, and I'm always gonna think that on some level. But like between me and him, like I think I've surpassed him in jiu-jitsu. I've surpassed him in MMA. Like I don't think he's got anything for me. I think if he did, he would have taken. I've given him opportunities to fight me. I've given him opportunities to have grappling matches with me. He doesn't want any of that shit. He took his victory back in 2013, and he doesn't want this shit. If he did,
he doesn't want the smoke,
he would be knocking at my door because you know how many people want that match to happen. People have been begging him to try to make that match happen forever. People that got money that would throw any dollar amount at him. He'll just fucking knock the number higher. He doesn't want any of this.
Make it impossible.
One day, I hope, man. We'll see. It all depends. He just lost, I think, recently in the UFC.
Cub Swanson.
I don't think he'll get thrown out because he has value.
No, not at all.
He has value in terms of like a following.
He lost one match.
And
Yeah.
Cub Swanson's
That's
good.
it. Cub Swanson's really good.
I mean,
Big
you say he lost one match, but like sometimes that's a death sentence in the UFC. You literally never know.
Yeah,
Like,
dude, but it was a barn burner, bro. They stood up the whole time. No
Sure.
one.
I thought it was
No
good.
jiu-jitsu. They were throwing caution to the wind, dude.
But yeah, man, I think he'll be around for a while. I don't think he's gonna get like taken out or before we would have a chance to fight. But we'll see.
What are your predictions if you were ever to step up in the cage with him?
I think I would probably just control him and TKO him after a period of time.
Just ground and pound his
I don't
ass.
like to say that I'd knock somebody out because I've never done that before. So it's hard for me to just say that
Justify
without
it.
actually doing it. But I definitely believe I could just TKO him on the ground. I don't know if I'd even bother trying to submit him because he's good at defending submissions. So I just keep punching him in the face as he tries to escape.
I think that's a very fair
like
assessment. I think
like
that's a
that.
very fair assessment, especially when like the internet says that you have pillow hands. So yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Fucking Frank.
okay, guys. Okay, I got one for you, Chris.
Got me all excited, man. Sorry. I'm amped up.
No, dude, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the enthusiasm. I hope it fucking happens. I do.
Mhm.
So Dana, if you're listening to this podcast, make it happen.
On the island tomorrow.
Dude, me and Chris would be so there, right, Chris?
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. I would I'd
Let us
grow my
corner
beard
you,
out.
bro.
I would go for the same look that Garry had. Whenever he was fighting it, I'd do the same look. Grow the beard out, dye
Yeah.
the hair blue, whatever. Fuck it.
Love it. Love it. I think we should just have it at the coffee plantation, dude. Let's just do it there.
Yes.
Fine. We'll do it
Do
on
it like
the coffee
like Tekken.
and then after we fight on the coffee beans, you can sell them for 100 times their market value.
Yep.
On
Our
eBay.
sweat would be in the
That'd be
in the
big in
bean.
Brazil.
These are the legendary beans. These two gladiators fought on.
Become the legend really.
That
really
could be
works
your
now.
new. That
Yeah,
could be
yeah.
your new shtick. Man. Could have people fight over coffee beans and
Bro.
then it'd be a product.
Plantation fights.
Bro, they sell coffee beans that goats shit out. So I mean, you know.
Yeah, yeah. There's a little animal that's kind of like a ferret looking type of ugly ass creature called a civet.
Mm-hmm.
I heard
And
about
so their natural like diet is the coffee cherry, which has the little beans inside.
Sure.
And the natives saw that they would shit out the beans, and the beans were like good to go to roast and grind. And
Yeah.
supposedly like this little animal's gut eliminates all the any type of bacteria or anything on the bean,
Uh-huh.
and any fermentation or anything like that that's going on.
Yeah.
So, and now they sell these beans for like upwards of like $100 a pound.
I always find it
Isn't like a
interesting.
cup like $60 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
I always find it interesting how people fucking figure this shit out. Like
Yeah.
the first guy to go, I noticed that animal's been eating coffee beans. Maybe we should try to fry up its shit and rinse some water through it, and let's see what we got.
Dude, I got a crazier one for you. What about like ayahuasca?
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Because you have to mix like two different, like a bark from this thing and a root from that thing, and they're not even near each other. Like, how did they figure that out?
Right.
Insanity. Total insanity. I agree. We were just talking about this the other day with circumcision. We were just like, who the fuck decided that was going to be a good idea?
Guys,
Like, who was the first guy to be like, you know what we need to do? We need to cut some of the skin off the tip of our penis.
You need to cut that shrimp off that dick.
is that okay? Okay, I got one for you guys.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen Unorthodox on Netflix?
No, Jeff has been watching it though. He's been
Haven't
telling me
yet, no.
about it.
Honestly, like I didn't know that this religion still existed, which is like I think it's called ultra orthodox or super orthodox or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So, man, these people have so many fucking rules.
Yeah.
So many rules. I can't believe like how people still live like that. And it's in Brooklyn, this community.
It's no wonder that they're fucking cunts all the time. It kind of makes sense now.
They don't
And
mix
this isn't
with anyone.
This isn't an
They
attack
have their
on
own community and
at all. This is
and
just
people.
me in my experience with Orthodox Jews, like in any area that I've ever been, have just been incredibly rude to me and like push past you at the supermarket. Like they just don't give a shit about you. So maybe they're the way that they grew up is part of the problem, and that's why they're so mean.
Dude, the women have to be like very covered. They have to when they marry, they have to shave their head and wear a wig. They can't use the internet. They can't have any hobbies. Dude, it's like
Yeah.
it's really weird.
Sounds like dating me. I don't let my girls use the internet or go outside.
You
Take
have
a Antle approach.
you hide them in the closet.
Dude, Frankie just brought up the show you were watching about the Orthodox Jews.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got
Tell
home
him to
mail.
That's all he's got. It's pretty good.
I mean, he just came home. I could ask him to talk about it
No.
if you want.
No, he's kind of like that dude that went to the party with a book.
Oh, wow.
No.
He's got it out for him now because he didn't remember that they met.
I didn't know what. I thought you were talking to Frankie Rosenthal.
Tell Jeff he's a jerk.
You know,
We broke bread, man. We had fucking tacos, bro.
He said, we broke bread. We had fucking tacos, bro.
I got a good one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, or both of you guys, do you think there's a correlation between hairy individuals and a faster metabolism? Like people that are ripped sometimes are like really hairy.
Well, there's a correlation between body hair and testosterone. So
That is where I'm getting at.
if you have a higher testosterone level, you're generally going to be hairier. And if you take
Yes.
exogenous testosterone, you do grow more hair. I have friends who are on juice and they're fucking hairy as fuck,
Yes.
and they weren't always.
That's it. Okay.
That was
That
it.
answers that.
So
I used to get made fun of for being hairless in school when I was a kid.
hairless.
Yeah, I'm just naturally not very hairy. Like, I mean, I got some body hair on me now, like 0 chest hair. Like, but when I was a kid, I would go to gym class and like as a teenager, like everybody had fucking leg hair. And like, you just couldn't see mine because I just had like little blonde hairs. And they'd be like, what do you shave your legs, pussy? And I'm
But-
like, oh, fuck.
But you know
Kids
what?
are
You
awesome.
did you have damn fucking bullies. Did
Yeah.
you have acne when you were small, Gary? When you were a kid?
Probably, I'm thinking probably from age 12 or 13 on, I had pretty bad acne, and it was exacerbated by the fact that I had longer hair. So even longer than this is probably like down to here or so. And everywhere where there was hair, I would just get fucking just zits straight across my forehead. I had cystic acne. So like what I have on my nose right now is kind of like a cystic acne thing. Like it
Those
basically
hurt.
gets infected and then like blows up. So I would have these big fucking bubbles and shit. But they had offered for me to go on Accutane, which is like the medicine that like basically just destroys all of that and gets rid of it. But they gave me a fucking pamphlet that was like 30 pages long with all the warning signs. And I turned to my mother and I was like, Mom, I was like, even if there's a 1% chance that like my fucking kidneys fail because I take this drug, there's 0 chance I'm taking this drug. All this is cosmetic. I don't give a fuck if I'm ugly. She's like, no, it works really well. You know, they monitor your liver and blah. I'm like, dude, I don't want to be on a drug where you have to monitor my fucking liver, man. I was like,
Right.
I'll just be ugly. Like, I'm good.
You're
I
not
don't-
ugly, Gary.
I
Not
don't
ugly at all.
So, yeah, I always struggled with acne, dude.
You're a beautiful man, Gary. Don't
I-
ever accept anyone tell you otherwise.
When I was in the mall once, and this is like when I had real bad acne, and I walked by, you know those kiosk workers that never fucking leave you alone?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So they just harass you.
Mhm.
So I walked by one of these guys and I wasn't paying attention because normally I just avoid them. Like it's like homeless people in the street. You just fucking
You're like a
cross the
prime
street.
candidate.
I'm not going anywhere near you because I don't want to interact with you because I know it's only going to be trouble. So I didn't see him, and then he's like, boom, right in front of my face. Hey, and
You
he's like,
appeared.
we got this fucking lotion, we got this, and he looks at me and he starts a sentence but backs out of the sentence halfway through, and he goes, I used to have acne almost as bad as yours.
Ouch.
Oof.
Man, he can go fuck himself.
And I was like, fuck you, man.
Did you ask him if that was on the pamphlet of fucking sales?
Oh, man.
That
I
guy's not a
remember
very good
these
salesman.
commercials for what the fuck was that shit they would be peddling all the time? The 3-part stage
Oh
thing.
yeah. Fuck. What is that?
Proactive.
Proactive.
Yeah.
And I actually
I
used
use
it for a bit.
Proactive.
It was an okay product, but like the commercials, it would be like a dude with like 1 pimple on his cheek, and it was like a mild pimple. He'd be like, yeah, I used Proactive and it was amazing. It changed my life. I'm like, you don't even know what fucking acne is, motherfucker. Are you kidding me? How dare you get in this commercial? Bring some ugly motherfucker like me in there with fucking zits just scattered all over his face.
So
And then show me the before and after pictures, bitch. You want to prove to me your product works?
my partner Theo had really bad acne when he was a teenager, and he was on Proactive
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So okay, so my question now is, is there a correlation between acne and a faster metabolism, Chris?
Well, again, testosterone and androgens, like that, there is a correlation of that. Like people with acne and body acne is one of the side effects of taking exogenous testosterone again is like body acne and shit. And it has to do with because it's like fat soluble and cholesterol based. So there's that too.
I fucking knew it.
Because I've never gotten body acne really. Like couple pimples here and there on my back, couple on my chest. Like never. Like my dad has his fucking back painted. You know, fucking. I get older, I don't. But like never had an issue with that. It's always just been on face and like neck, like underneath my chin and shit. I get it here a lot from shaving, you know.
I used to break out a ton in high school. I was a wrestler in high school, though, so like I always had like from the headgear. And
I don't believe that. Chris is
time.
Always beautiful. I won't believe it. I refuse to believe it. Chris is always just a beautiful.
I can't even imagine that, right, Gary?
And I couldn't grow a mustache till I was 23.
Dude, me too. It took me fucking forever. Well, actually, mustache, no. Mustache took till then. This part of like my beard grew in. This was the absolute first thing that came in, and that was probably
here. You started on the chin.
Yeah. This was the first. Well,
patches.
I would have a little bit here, but it wasn't enough to like really grow something. The first thing that was like real was this. So I would have like just like the little fucking shit on my beard. And then I think I was able to do I couldn't do any of this for the longest time. That was probably not till I was like 23, 24.
I had all that, but nothing here. This was just blonde.
Dude, I fucking dreamed to have fucking this for the longest time. Like, just this to me, this was like the essence of being a man, to be able to have fucking hair from here.
The Wolverine, you got
Chris.
the Wolverine.
Exactly, because I loved Wolverine, man. It was so depressing. I couldn't really look like him.
Chris, did you ever rock the Guido outlines? Where they leave a little tiny pencil beard.
Of course. Because I couldn't grow this. So it was like,
when you do that, though, you also have to be like 100 pounds overweight. And like the line has to go just right above a ripple of fat that comes underneath your chin.
With a blowout and a dark-ass tan.
Oh, yeah, I had a blowout. Definitely had a blowout. From Long Island, bro. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this has probably been like the longest podcast ever. Hook us up with some love and subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel, peeps. And hit us up with any questions to our Gmail at fleshwoundpodcast@gmail.com. Peace out, bitches.
For
Bye, guys.
no man, no man, no man, no man.